All right, guys, so this is the seat off the 175C crawler loader, or this is what I have of the seat anyhow. The frame appears to be in pretty good shape here. Yeah, I got me some new $3 shoes at Walmart there. The other ones were falling apart. Anyhow, frame appears to be in pretty good shape, but it's missing the bottom pad altogether. And if you've seen my other videos, the batteries are under this seat frame, and I've been sitting on got a piece of rubber laid across the battery so nothing's arcing, and then there's a piece of plywood on top of that. That's what I've been sitting on just to move it around out in the driveway there. But we're gonna have to recover. Hopefully the cushions and boards are good in these arms and they just need new covers, because it's way dry rotted. I mean, it's just like just falling apart. So the arms are gonna have to be recovered. The back I'm hoping to salvage. I may cut a portion of this foam out and put in some new and recover it. And then the bottom, we're gonna have to lay out a piece of board and kind of fabricate the whole thing. Now you can get this whole setup, all 4 pieces, on eBay from H. Finney, which is a company I bought my operator's manual from. And they sell the whole setup shipped to your door for $225. So I mean, if you don't want to do the work yourself, $2 1/4, you know, it's a lot, but if a guy didn't have any interest in doing it himself, you could just order it. So I'm going to try to recover them myself, and I'll kind of update you as we go here. Okay, so I got the seat back off the frame and up here on the table, and I've already loosened the screws. There's some bolts that hold this hanger on. These 2 hangers is what mounts the seat back onto the frame. So I got this stuff loosened up. Pull that off, and it doesn't look like it's anything real extravagant sewing job on this thing. So that's good, because I'm not great at weird funny angles and stuff. But basically it's one big piece of material on the front, and then there's a strip of material that goes, it's like 3 inches wide here, and it flares out to like 5 inches wide and wraps all the way around the thing, and then comes back and sewn to here, and then you pull it all tight around the back side and staple it to the board. The fasteners, those are not wood screws. There are nut inserts in the wood here. So those are, I mean, those are like a machine bolt, or you know, a threaded bolt, and they thread into these nuts here. I mean, if you didn't have that in there, you could just use a you know, wood screw or something, screw it right into the board. But be careful, because you know, you're going to be leaning up against that. If you go too deep, you get poked. But anyhow, I'm going to tear the cover off of here, and we're going to use this cover as a template to cut out some new. I'm going to use black outdoor vinyl that you can pick up at fabric shops and stuff. It's essentially it's for covering boat seats and stuff. So I'm going to use that. And I'll kind of update you here as we go. All right, well, you can see we got the cover pulled off, and you can hear just how crunchy and cracking this thing is. It's really bad. This would not have held up to much use, and that's what I plan on using this loader a considerable amount here, at least for I don't know, a year or so anyhow. And this would just not hold up to any kind of use. So we got that off, and it's kind of interesting how these things are put together. Essentially it's a piece of plywood, and you know, they got a foam on it, but then they wrap a piece of this batting over to kind of smooth it out, I guess. I don't know, just maybe help the vinyl to slide over the foam better. But pretty cool. I don't know, just interesting how these are put together. And then I used this little tool here and some screwdrivers and stuff to pull the staples up, because you know, that material is just stapled to this board. The board ain't too bad. I'm probably going to reuse this same board, so I'll go around, clean up all the little staples. You probably can't see here, but there's like 1,000 little pokey staples sticking up now. So I'll figure out something with this padding. We'll cut a chunk of pad and shove in here, or maybe just trim the whole top off here. And anyhow, I'll just update you here as we go then. All right, so this is the seat back. I was going to try to save it, but this wood down here on the bottom is just too far gone. So I got me a piece of plywood. I don't know what size it is. It's about the same size as that. Plywood, not OSB board. So I'm just laying this out here, and this is actually so rotten. There were some of these nut inserts down here on the bottom where I guess the seat back was supposed to be fastened on the bottom as well. I didn't even know. So till I pulled that foam off, then I could tell there's something rusty under there, and that's what that is. So anyhow, lay it on my plywood. I'm gonna trace it with a pencil. I'm gonna cut it out, and then I'm gonna try to take these nut inserts out. And if these won't come out, I'll probably just use wood screws to fasten it back on then after the fact. So that's what I'm doing. I am gonna replace this wood. It's just too far gone. Okay, so here's what I got going. I cut my piece out. This is my new one. I was able to pop out those nut inserts and even the staples that hold them on. So I tapped those back in with a hammer. I was kind of gentle when I pulled them out of the old. Put them back in. So we got a brand new back. And what I've got here is, this is black vinyl. It's pretty long stuff. I couldn't tell you how long exactly. It's probably, I don't know, might be 48 inches long. I bought a whole bunch of this stuff a few years ago. I had a Humvee, a military Humvee, and I had high back seats that were needed recovered, so I recovered it in that. This stuff worked out really, really well for that. So I've used it for a couple other projects since then. But I had an extra kind of a scrap piece rolled up in with this, and I just laid my board on top of this scrap piece, traced it out with an ink pen, and that's what I got. So this is going to be my new seat front. I'll cut that out. This will be the front, and then I'm gonna basically use the old one or the old seat cover, or even kind of just measure around. It's thicker at the bottom, it gets thinner at the top. It goes from like 5 inches here to like 3 inches here, and cut my new side piece. But don't be intimidated to work with this stuff, guys. This stuff is real easy to work. And I'm just going to be sewing it up with a regular sewing machine, you know, $100 Walmart outfit. So I'll update you here in a bit. All right, so you saw me cut this out. I measured the old, and the widest part that I was coming around was about 7 inches. Now, they just pull it around and staple it down on the backside and cut it, just a rough cut on the backside. So as long as you've got plenty enough to pull up the side and wrap around and staple to, it's no big deal. And if you got a little extra, well, that's fine too. You can just trim it down. But some of it was like 5 inches wide, some of it was like 7. So I figured worst case was 7. So I cut a couple of strips of 7, and I measured the, I guess that'd be the circumference, the outer length on this piece was like, I forget what it was exactly, like 65 1/4 or something like that. Anyhow, I cut myself a couple of extra. I cut these two pieces. These are 54 inches. That's how wide that roll is. So I cut enough to do a little extra. I'm gonna have to sew. I'm gonna sew these two together, so I'll have my length, and then I'm gonna sew around this thing, and I'm gonna do a 1/4 inch seam. So I'm gonna get my sewing machine dug out here, and I'm gonna find the heaviest black thread I got in there and make it work. So that's what I'm doing. I'll update you in a bit. All right, I just thought you might be interested to see my sewing setup out here in the garage. I just kind of made a space and put a table up, sitting on a bucket. And this is the final product there for the seat back. So this seam in the middle, that's the very top. You know, it's crude, it's very basic, but I'll get that stretched across the new back. I'll put some foam on it, and that ought to work out real nice. I'll update you in a bit. All right, so here's what I come up with patching this corner. This corner here is kind of ate out. I don't know, critters chewed it or what, but so I just cut the bad part out. So I took my razor knife, just real crude, cut that part out. I laid the corner of that foam, I laid the corner right in there, because essentially I cut a corner into it. Laid that corner in there, cut out that chunk, and then just used my razor knife to kind of eyeball and get pretty close. And I mean, it ain't perfect. I could probably trim it up a little bit more if I was real worried about it, but you will never notice that behind that. Well, hell, I'll probably put new batting on it and everything. You'll never notice it behind the that vinyl. So that's what I did for that corner, and I'm going to glue it in. I don't know if Elmer's glue will work for this. I guess we'll find out. So I'm going to glue that in there, and then I'm going to do the same thing over here. This corner's a lot worse, but I'm going to cut the bad part out, you know, in a nice geometric fashion, maybe like a 90 up through here, and then I might have to stack this, put it in there. I'll update you in a bit. All right, so here's my cushion. You can see I've done a real crude job of laying a couple of pieces of foam on there and gashing the hell out of them with a razor knife. I got it all glued together. It's yet to be determined if that Elmer's glue is going to hold, but I found me a piece of just a extra big scrap piece of that batting. Actually looks like it's going to work real well. This is just cheap polyester extra loft batting or whatever, comes from Joann Fabrics or whatever. So this was in the bag up there. It's been sitting upstairs in the sewing room for years and years. Ain't been used, so I'm going to put it to use. I probably wouldn't use any kind of cotton with this. Oh, there, I'm messing it all up. Probably wouldn't use any kind of cotton. I'd want to keep it all polyester, being it's outside and everything. So I'm going to wrap that around, fix that, wrap that around, and then I'm going to grab my cover laying over there, get my electric staple gun out, and fasten this down. I'll catch you guys up here in a little bit. All right, so I fought my old piece of junk Craftsman just as long as I could stand it. I took it apart, see if I could get it to staple better. It's folding the staples in half. Rather than the ram coming down and hitting the staple straight on, the little ram was coming down at an angle, so it was, anyhow, piece of junk. Craftsman electric stapler, don't even waste your money on a piece of junk. Ended up breaking out the old spring-loaded staple gun. Here's the finished product. It ain't perfect. There's the seam on top you can see. A little dirty from me scrushing, you know, around on the workbench here, but you know, we'll take it over there. Actually, I ain't even tried to put it on the frame yet. I got the hardware on the back. I guess I should show you all the staples. So I stapled the heck out of it just like it had before. But I got the hardware on the back just like it was. Actually, I need to tighten that up. Anyhow, let's see if it'll fit here. So how it does is it hangs on these brackets. Like, yeah, this is one-handed, it's hard to do. Okay, it wants to go in there. Anyhow, that's what it's gonna look like. Like I said, it ain't perfect, but it's gonna work better than it was. So I think I'm gonna recover these armrests next, and then I'm gonna fabricate a bottom. I probably won't bother you guys with the rest of this, so it's all pretty much the same. I went ahead and knocked out the rest of them. Cut me a board for the bottom here, put a pad on it, good and soft, and just firm enough where I think it'll be good. See, that machine doesn't have any kind of suspension, so you know the operator takes every little bit of bumps and stuff you hit. So you want to have a good comfy seat cushion. So I think that'll be in good shape. The arms, I cut all new board, everything got all new backboard, and the arms I was able to reuse the padding that was there. So it turned out real well. Again, if you got any questions or anything, leave them in the comments below, and I'll try to help any way I can. If you guys like this video, go ahead and click the like button and subscribe for more, because I'm going to be working on this loader a whole lot more. You never know what I'm going to get into. I'll see you on the next one.